Tonight, I make some friends. Ketita talks a lot.
Explicit intention by the creator.
Rillant partakes in his national pastime. Ame doesn't like beans.
I hate beans.
And Torlock turns into a can of beans.
I am Torlock.
Hello everybody and welcome to a very special little video. Today I am very fortunate to sit down with a few of the folks from Project Vinland, the people behind the English scanlations of the classic manga Vinland Saga, to kind of, get a little bit of a view into their work process. Before I get into this, if you are listening and you aren't caught up onto Vinland Saga, that's totally fine. I will have like a little spoiler noise and a little visual cue to come up on the screen with a timestamp of where you can skip to and then to miss the spoilers. Wonderful. Okay, so let's just jump right into the questions, just to kind of get a quick introduction. First things first, what is your name? What is your role on Project Vinland? And just to kind of establish some of that street cred so everybody knows to respect you. How long have you been following this series? And finally, which aspect of Vinland Saga is the aspect you like most? Let's start with Ketita.
Okay, so hey, I'm Ketita. I am the translator, or one of the translators at the moment. I think I tend to do a fair amount of the heavy lifting with translation. I have academic background in Japanese, PhD in Japanese literature, so that does help me. My English writing skills are on the decent side. I have taught English writing courses, so I try to bring all my abilities to bear because I care very deeply about this manga. It's definitely something that's very special to me right now, and I'm really excited to be part of Project Vinland. My cred is I have the energy of someone who has been following Vinland Saga forever. But in
Very
fact,
important.
I have that energy. People think that I'm such a snob, but actually it's all fake. I've only been following since after the anime. I watched the anime and I was like, oh, this is one of the best things I've seen. And then I binged the entire manga in 2 days. And I was like, okay, my life has changed now. I'm a changed person.
Hardcore.
Yeah, and then I promptly reread it a bunch of times so that I can pretend I've been doing this for the last 10 years.
And favorite aspect of Vinland Saga?
Okay, I'm going to put on my literature nerd hat, but really, one of the things that got me about Vinland Saga is the fact that I have things to say about it also from a literary perspective. It's not just about the themes and stuff, but the way that there are certain philosophical ideas that, I'll be reading Camus and then I look at Vinland Saga and I'm like, oh, this kind of interacts. And thinking about just the way that Japan approaches the ideas of pacifism and the way that Japan portrays pacifism and violence in its popular culture is something that's very interesting to me, and also it's part of what goes into my dissertation work. And seeing Vinland Saga, where a creator has explicitly said outright that he wants to interrogate that aspect of violence and what makes a hero cool, and whether or not it's possible to have a cool hero who does not solve things by violence, this interacts a lot with thoughts that I have had and some types of critiques that I've had regarding Japanese media. So to me, seeing this be an explicit part of the story and reading Vinland Saga in light of this explicit intention by the creator and seeing the reactions of the audience and how it plays out is just a really fascinating experience.
Wow, okay. I was just going to be like, I like the cool art, they look pretty, but you got some Omega Brain stuff going on there. That's really cool, actually.
Nerd.
I told you the snob. I'm not, it's...
Yeah, nice. Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction.
Maybe you shouldn't have started with me.
Oh, well, okay. Well, we'll cool things down with the ever cool Rill. Could you introduce yourselves? I know I just said your name, but...
Yeah, for sure. Say I'm Rill, or Rillant, or just whatever you want to call me. I guess I'm the project leader or group leader of the whole thing. I primarily do typesetting, these days. I used to do translations, but my translations suck, so I'm happy Ketita is here for that. So yeah, street cred wise, I have been reading the series since before the first English omnibus came out, which is somewhere in 2013.
Oh boy.
Boomer.
And then the first, and then the first book came out, and I just downloaded all the scans because reading websites weren't a thing back then. So I downloaded all the scans, which was up to chapter 100, and chapter 101 was the first one I had to wait on, which was, I believe, early 2014. So
dang,
I've been reading monthly for like 7.5 years.
Oh wow. So okay, so that chapter you ended on was the worst chapter in the entire Vinland Saga, in my opinion. I feel bad for you.
What, chapter 100?
Yeah, it's another one where Ilvin punches Thorfinn.
I don't quite remember what it was. I thought
anyway.
that's the one where he comes home, right?
Yeah. Okay, to be fair, that's like a great place to end, because you're right at the beginning of a new arc. Like, you've just finished.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Arcs.
I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's nice. Oh, and then favorite part of Vinland Saga? Favorite aspect. Sorry.
Well, the thing that drew me in the most at first was just the historical. I don't want to say accuracy because it's not all that accurate, but just how the historical events are portrayed. It just felt so cool to me to see all these things that supposedly really happened, on these pages and in this very comic style, because Yukimura doesn't really have a traditional manga art style. It's more like American comics, in my opinion, especially the early parts. So it was just very, very nice to see.
That's interesting. I never thought about it being like American comics. I mean, I'm not as well versed on the on manga as you probably are, so that's interesting that you picked that up. Yeah, no, the historical parts are really cool because Yukimura does care a lot about at least the accuracy of the time period and replicating that well.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe the historical timeline doesn't quite match up because I think Thorfinn is actually most likely 30 years older than Knut rather than the same age and stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And then Torlock. Let's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am Torlock, formerly known as, if you've seen my name on the credits, as Kurt Zisa. I am basically, to put it in simple terms, Will's minion.
True.
I do basically proofreading. It's called quality checker, that's what we call it, but it's just proofreading the chapter to make sure there's no spelling mistakes or any punctuation errors, and making sure it reads fine, things like that. So it's not the biggest job, but it's still an important part of the process.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I make spelling mistakes all the time. Most of my Discord messages have the edited next to them because I can't type and think at the same time. But yeah, that's really awesome.
Hi, I'm Ame. I am a translator for Project Vinland. And for the street cred question, I was following Vinland Saga a little bit before the anime came out, as it got recommended to me. I can't say I've been following it for long, but once I started reading, I honestly just fell in love. What aspect I like the most? I'm really into history, so I obviously really like the history aspect, and I like how Yukimura molds it to fit his own narrative. But if I had to say my favorite part of the entire thing, I would have to say it's the characters, because I'm just a sucker for well-written characters and nicely executed narratives.
And so, just to kind of keep things moving along here, what is the overall aim of Project Vinland, and why do you guys do it in general?
Yeah, well, it all came to be when Hawks, which used to be the previous translator, they dropped the series because, I mean, I haven't asked them directly, so don't quote me on this, but the rumors were that he started disliking the series and he didn't like where the story was going, so he only really translates stories that he's really passionate about. And for Vinland Saga, that passion just apparently faded away, so he stopped doing it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate because his translations are super, super high quality.
Rill had posted on one of the platforms or whatever that he was planning on making a team to translate the new chapters. He said it doesn't matter how much Japanese experience you had, as long as you were able to help out.
When Hawks stopped translating, there was no chapter for a month and a half, maybe 2 months even. And at one point, I'm like, you know, I've studied a fair bit of Japanese. I've took some classes here and there. I've took some courses in university. I can totally do this. So I sit down in my PC. I get the raws from, I think it's chapter 166. And I immediately, the first, like, balloon, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. It was so much harder than I expected. So the first chapter took me like 12 hours straight. And I had to have help from like 6 different people because there were so many things I just couldn't figure out. And that's just how I like picked the initial like members of the team, who are now mostly gone. But like the first couple of chapters, I had like 6-7 people helping me out because it was so much harder than I expected. I just totally underestimated the whole translation process.
Yeah, thanks for picking up the mantle. I guess I'm assuming that all of you guys kind of do it for just in general passion, just like because it's interesting to you and it's a fun thing to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, in my case, it's actually kind of funny how I ended up joining Project Vinland. So a chapter came out. I don't remember what number was it. 168 or something?
169.
169. And I saw that there was a little bit of something that got missed in the translation. Like, I looked at the translation and I said, something feels off. And then I checked it versus the Japanese. And I made a post on the subreddit saying, you know, hey, so here's something I noticed. And I was so nervous about posting because I really didn't want people to think that I was bashing the translators or anything because I know how much work goes into it. So I was kind of like, you know, here's another element, you know, here's something that like got
Was this the
somehow.
swords part?
It was the thing about the first resort.
Ah.
Because he uses a really specific phrase there in Japanese. Now, because I had just come off of several binges of the manga, so I had everything really fresh, and I looked at it and I was like, I know this phrase, so it really rang to me. And then I went and I posted, and then Rill commented saying, do you want to join us? And I was like, yeah.
Nice. Okay. And
So-
Real, did you translate that?
Oh yeah, that was my translation. And like I
Okay,
said,
okay.
That's
Okay.
a mean thing to ask.
no.
I'm practicing my journalism skills. You know, you gotta start the beef, let it stew.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, I translated it and just totally missed that callback because if you look at the raws, it's like super obvious. But I hadn't read those. I think it's chapter 96, which is where he first uses those phrases. And if you just
Yeah.
put the pages next to each other, it's like super obvious. But I had never read those in Japanese, so it totally like went past me, and I had the hardest time figuring out what he was trying to say. So I was just trying to make sense of this like word salad.
Ah, well, that's fair enough, really. Because I mean, you've been up to date for 7 years. It sounds like. So you know, I mean, unless you probably did a few rereads, but you know, like
Yeah,
it's probably
yeah,
not fresh
but-
in your mind. So yeah, okay, cool. Torlock, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to say Ketita has also corrected loads of mistakes that I've missed, so she's also doing my job as well.
Oh, nice, nice.
I'm just an overachiever.
I'm
Yes,
ashamed
well.
of myself.
Okay, that's really cool. Okay, because
No,
there's
but I really want to say though, I just appreciate everyone's work so much because it also makes me feel more like when I go in, we always try to get this done so fast. So a lot of mistakes can get through. So for me also knowing that I can kind of, you know, I go in, I do my translation full steam, and then I know that there's going to be other eyes on it to hopefully pick up, you know, some of the really random crap that can get in mid-translation. So it's really good to know that there's a bunch of very talented people, you know, working alongside.
I had been looking for a way outside of just studying to improve my Japanese both in reading and in understanding. And so I thought that was a good opportunity. As for the overall aim of the project, even though the official releases are amazing, they do take time in comparison to online translations that come out a couple of days after the chapter in Japan. And even though our translations may be slightly different from the official ones, I still feel it's nice to always have different perspectives on what different translators thought when translating the work. Honestly, I'm impressed by the others, because I don't even I'm pretty sure English isn't some of their first languages, or at least it was like a subsidiary language growing up. So,
Yeah.
especially since it's not the only language they've been raised with, that they are able to pick up on those nuances within the Japanese and then translate it into English just as well. It's actually really inspiring to see them do that.
I also always, like, while I'm translating, I'll sometimes send Rill different like examples of, oh, I could do the line this way or that way or the other way, and then sometimes we'll kind of he'll say, you know, which one sounds the best.
Yeah, like a multiple choice.
Yeah, we keep on saying, like, one of these days we should do a full chapter with all the, like, jokey / absolute worst examples that we come up with while we're working on it, because it's pretty funny. At least we think it's funny.
You guys have, like, you could probably fool me. I'd buy it. I'd eat it all up. Dang. Do you find that your Japanese got better as you went through it, or?
Yeah, I'd definitely say it got better. Mostly just repeating stuff and reading it over and over again.
Okay. And so, I guess, like, in terms of Japanese, what is the reading level like?
Yeah, I think it's, like, for me, it was way complexer than I expected, because I'm coming from, like, reading, I don't know, Dragon Ball in Japanese, which is, like, super easy, has all these furigana characters. And here I'm like, a whole balloon is just filled with kanji. I'm like, what the fuck does this even mean? I have no clue. And I can't read it, so I can't even, like, recognize the words. So for me, at least, it was a lot more difficult. And also because a lot of characters have this, like, specific way of speaking. Like, Carly is speaking like a child, and Gudrid has, like, a little farmer's accent, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. So there's different accents and different ways of speaking. So for me, it was super hard to get into, at least.
Yeah, and okay, so interesting. So Gudrid has, like, a farmer's accent, you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a farmer's accent. I just couldn't think of the word.
Gudrid, she does this thing where it's like a kind of uncertainty. Like, she has a lot of where it's like really kind of almost girly. The truth is, it's a little bit awful.
It's very awful.
It's kind of sucks. I'm honestly sort of glad that the English doesn't have that linguistic element to put in there.
Is it a bit cutesy? Is that a good way of putting it?
It's not exactly cutesy. It's more kind of insecure, maybe.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's fascinating. Like, to me, this is really interesting.
Fragment sentences and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say with, like, an accent.
So, like, stuttering almost, like, like not quite sure of what to say, or?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I would also say, like, in Vinland Saga, one of the things, and this is what I think really has to do with kind of complexity of Japanese language, is, yes, the kanji themselves are one element, but at the end of the day, you know, kanji you can look up in a dictionary. So it's just a question of, are you going to be looking up more kanji or less kanji? And the real complexity comes into certain elements of, like, sentence structure and clauses. Japanese does this thing where they'll, like, stack clauses. You know, they'll start a sentence and because it doesn't use pronouns a lot, so you won't necessarily be sure who is talking, who they're talking about, and if they changed subject mid-sentence. And then they'll be, like, kind of doing these big sections of sentences that are descriptive, like, within themselves and stuff like that. Now, in that sense, Vinland Saga is definitely not the worst that I've seen. Like, I've read some more, I read, like, Tanizaki in Japanese and I wanted to die. But that's, like, early 20th century stuff.
Okay.
So, there's stuff there that's, like, very tough to get to parse. So in Vinland Saga, the parts where it's just dialogue tend to be relatively straightforward, especially because the presence of the speech bubbles, that you can tell who is speaking usually, and context, the pictures tell you what they're speaking about, so it makes it a lot simpler to kind of at least figure out the basic layer of what is going on here. And also, generally, the more complex language will show up in, like, when Thorfinn was having those conversations with Halfdan and with the other like all the philosophical, and with Avar and all the whole, what does it mean to have a sword, and how do you make an economy that's not based on whatever. Like, that was kind of a pain to translate, because there are like these huge blocks of text talking about these ideas.
So they're very, very abstract ideas and conversations, and so it's kind of hard to
so it
pin
gets
down.
more abstract, and sometimes you'll also be a little bit less sure of, like, did I get it right that this is what they're actually saying? Because when they're pulling, some kind of philosophical argument out of somewhere, then you don't necessarily have the same contextual foundation to say, okay, this is what they're referring to.
That's really fascinating. Thank you for elaborating on that. It's really interesting. So, Real, could you just kind of outline the basic Scanlation pipeline process? Like, what was the process like of getting the translation, and how does that kind of get out the door to a finished product?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing always is getting the raws, so buying the magazine, getting the scans. And we use digital scans nowadays, so it's pretty easy to get everything. So the magazine releases at like the 25th at midnight Japan time, which is like 5 p.m. for me, so I usually just got home from work, or I'm just at work ripping the magazine there. And I upload it all to Google Drive, and we just use the whole Google, how do you call it, Office suite, I guess. Like, we use Google Docs to keep track of translations, and we use Google Drive to upload like the raws, and then like me or someone else starts cleaning those raws, and ketita, so I definitely butchered that name. And ketita starts like translating, and I will start cleaning and lettering and that kind of stuff. So we're all working in tangents, which is really nice to get it out fairly quickly, because when one person is done cleaning, ketita is done translating, and I can start lettering, and it's a very nice process we have right now.
It sounds like a very agile method. So like, while everybody's always working, so it's not getting stuck
exactly
up in like a waterfall method or something like that. Okay, that's and so you mentioned leathering. So there's quite a few words here that I have no clue what these mean.
Okay.
So I guess if you can just list off the top of the head, most like translating is quite self-explanatory. And getting the rules, but are there like a few other ones that may not be as obvious?
Yeah, the main three ones are cleaning, which is just taking off the Japanese text. So this is the text from bubbles, the like advertisements that are at the top of the page. Just stuff like that. Just everything that's like not the actual page just gets taken off. Then we have redrawing. Sometimes the letters are on the art itself. So when we remove that, you just have white spots everywhere. So we have someone that redraws the art, or like tries to redraw the art, so that it doesn't look as bad as when it's just white spots. And then the final part is lettering, which is just putting the text in the boxes, putting the text on the art. And then we have quality checking, which is Torlock's domain, which is just making sure like that the chapter is up to like our quality standard.
Wow. Okay. So not only do you have to translate the bloody thing, you gotta make it all look nice. You gotta basically restore it to it without the text, and then add your text back on.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair. Okay.
My personal process in translating the work, honestly, having a pen and paper there to just go along with you and to jot notes and everything is always the biggest help. And okay, so this is gonna sound pretty surprising, but Google Translate is good for one thing. Don't use it for everything, but they have a function on there where you can draw kanji characters. And since I think most Japanese learners are not always the most proficient in kanji, because it's like the third writing system and it's very complex characters and symbols, so it's pretty hard to memorize. So you can draw it on there, whether it's on your phone or your computer, and it will pop up in the box, and I can just take that and put it with my kanji dictionary, and then I'm like, oh, that's what it means, and I can connect that to the sentence, and then it makes a lot more sense. So don't use Google Translate for actual translating, but for small things like that, you can use it and it will work well. I would say the most difficult part of the translation process is actually coordinating with the others and being like, I'll do this part, you'll do that part. When can you work? When can I work? That's really the hardest thing to do within the process. The actual translating itself isn't as difficult.
You know, we're sitting here and like talking about like illegal shit here, that we do encourage everyone to actually buy the manga when it's available, and like we all own it. So we really do this, like we want more people to read Vinland Saga and support Vinland Saga and the author. So like, yeah, just so you know.
Yes,
this sounds
that's a good
really
caveat to
fake.
make. Yeah.
Is book 12 out yet?
No.
Book 12, I think, is coming out in October.
Oh my god, it's been delayed so
19th.
much.
Yeah.
It's still super delayed.
Does anybody else have anything to add? Any stories? Ketita, would you like to delve into the recent trials and tribulations of trying to understand through Japanese what the First Nations language was like?
Yeah, okay, so that was, you know, we're sitting and looking at it, and then I see these words, it's just like katakana everywhere. Or I see kanji that the furigana is in katakana, and I'm like, that's what is this saying? And then I think I messaged Real at some point on Discord, and I was like, Real, boot up your Micmac dictionary. Find me a Micmac dictionary.
And I did.
Yes, and then we started doing, and then like at some point both of us were looking up. I was like, Real, look up this word, and then we were both looking at the same time to kind of see, you know, which of us would find that word first, because Japanese is not very good for transliterating any language that is not Japanese. The way that Japanese is structured is just not very flexible. It doesn't have that many vowel sounds, and because you basically can barely end anything on a consonant, so it means that when you read a word in katakana, that it can have a lot of random vowels stuck in the middle. So you're looking at this word and you need to figure out, okay, what's the actual word supposed to sound like? Now this may come as a surprise, but as at the moment nobody in Project Vinland actually speaks Micmac. So yeah,
I mean, it's quite common, so you guys should really get someone on that.
Yeah, it's if there's a native speaker who would like to join, please contact us.
Yes, do.
Yeah, and that is not a joke. Please do.
Yeah, it's not. It would actually be very cool to have somebody with more internal knowledge. But
And maybe even a cultural background in it as well. That would be
Yes.
awesome.
But yeah, so we did our best looking at, there are online, you know, dictionaries and sites that deal with the culture of this tribe and also includes their language and phrases and all sorts of things like that. So we went digging through with each word to try and make sure that we were actually finding the right one that corresponded to what Yukimura intended.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that sounds like just the crux of it, right? With like translation, just trying to find out what Yukimura is trying to say. And yeah, that's a crazy story. I love that though. It must have been like hell while you're doing it, but afterwards you're like, oh, that's really cool. Maybe that's just me projecting.
Once we figured out the basics of what it is we had to do, I think it got a bit better. But it's also a little bit similar. I mean, we already had a little bit of that experience with character names, because whenever a new character pops up and you're like, okay, so we need to figure out what Icelandic or whatever name actually corresponds to these katakana. And there can sometimes be a bit of guesswork involved in trying to make sure that it's the right name.
Does this have anything to do with how Arnheid is sometimes called Arneus in fan translations?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, yes. So that's because in Icelandic, the letter that's used for her name is like it's a the, I think it like looks like a funky D. So Yukimura transliterates all instances of that letter, also in Arnheid, also in Gudrid, because it's like Gudrid, I think. My Icelandic pronunciation is terrible. I'm sorry. So he transliterates all of those as zu. Like that's the character that he uses. So it's written Arnizu, basically. right? Is that I wasn't around when we were translating. that.
Yeah, it's Arnizu and it's Gudrizu.
Guzurizu.
It makes no sense.
Okay.
So, well, I mean, it makes sense in the sense that at least it's consistent. Like, there is no the in Japanese. So if he did the, then it might get confused. I mean, if there are other things that have a hard the, so I guess he wanted to differentiate that. Or it could be that because of his native language that, you know, he listened to recordings of the name and that sounded to him closer to how it was actually pronounced, and that's why he chose to transliterate. But I mean, once you get the idea that this is that this is how he's transliterating it, that's the letter, then at that point you're like, okay, fine. Like, you know where to go from there. In general, consistency is very, very important with anything that has to do with transliteration. And like, if you're consistent, it can be figured out. If he was doing whatever he wanted every time, it would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. And I guess maybe you would have also had help because, you know, some of these people are historical characters or historical people. So, like, Gudrid is historical. So, once you kind of find out, you'd be like, okay, we can approximate it to Gudrid because that's what we say in English. Or maybe if it's some Norse character like Balder or Garn or something like that. But something like Arnid, I don't think she appears in Norse mythology, or that name does. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but
I think the name does appear. It's not so much in mythology. It's more in different sagas and stuff. And I know that with some of the character names, I asked Truck, who is Icelandic. He hangs around on the Discord and stuff. So I've consulted with him at least about some stuff to make sure that it sounds reasonable.
Oh, that's great.
From an Icelandic perspective.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's another thing I'm always reminded of. It's really awesome, the internet. You know, you can just find people from the actual place. Like some Iceland or something like that, and then ask them. That's really cool. And do you have any like just anecdotes or stories of just like recent chapters or something that you translated that you thought was kind of funny, or anything comes to mind?
I mean, if not in terms of the manga, but Yukimura himself, I haven't seen a mangaka that actually interacts with his fans as much as he does. And how open he is and how caring and considerate he is. So I have friends who I also talk to who read Vinland, and they got very jealous about this.
Okay.
I decided around like right after the anime came out to send him a letter because I really enjoyed the story and I wanted to show my appreciation in words and in a written letter because I really like writing letters. So I found the P.O. box, and I wrote the entire thing in Japanese. I had a friend who's from Japan go over it to make sure I was writing it correctly, and it conveyed what I wanted it to convey. And I sent it over, and I did little drawings and stuff, and I sent it, and I didn't expect a reply, because I've sent letters to authors before, and I've never gotten replies. Next thing I know, around, 3 weeks later, and this is around my birthday, mind you. So this was 8 days before my birthday. Yukimura follows me, he DMs me, and he sends me a personal drawing saying thank you for the letter. And my heart just was bursting. He is the sweetest. And he didn't even write it in Japanese. He took his time to go through Google Translate and write everything and make sure it was understandable for me, because he knew that I was a native English speaker and he wanted to say it and make it easier for me. And it was just the sweetest thing ever. And he's always replying to fans.
I have the biggest grin on my face.
No, he's the sweetest. And sometimes I'll DM him and be like, hey, stay safe or stay healthy, or are we going to see this later on and stuff. And a lot of the times he will reply, both in English and Japanese. And he's just the sweetest. And he always replies to fans in the comments on Twitter, and he always reposts art and anything that the fans create, and he's just the sweetest person, honestly.
The man is one of the most wholesome people
He
on the
is.
planet.
I've had the drawing he made me as my background since I got it on my phone. I refuse to change it.
That is so cool. Okay. Your street cred just rose through the roof. It's touching the moon right now. You got direct lines to Mr. Yukimura himself. I think we're time to head over to a little games round, a little something spicy. Just kind of jazz it up a little bit. So instead of, this is all educational. Okay, cool. But what about the fun? What about the fun? Well, I'm gonna add the fun as I share my screen here. Hold up. Okay, let me think of what were the rules. The rules were basically, and this may get really chaotic.
I love it.
Okay, because the more chaos, the better. Welcome to the Quirky Quiz Quarter, which is sponsored by Blissful Unfathomable Gifts. Enroll your everything. A great service I like to use all the time, where I just get random stuff. I don't know what I'm gonna get, but I get it. And so you can find that at bug-EYE.com. So go there, and if you put in the code JARKEY, you'll get 0% off anything you ever get, because it's a gift. You just have to give everything, basically, yeah. And next, thank you to our generous patron, Mr. Bug Eyes, for sponsoring this amazing part of the show. And basically, this part of the show is, I'm just going to ask you questions, and I just want you to say the answer as fast as you can possibly think and muster. And hopefully, I haven't put any of the answers in front of the questions. Are you guys ready?
Hell yeah.
No, but let's go.
All right. Question 1. What year was Vinland Saga initially published?
I know he finished his other work, which is also great, Planetes. That was in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. I know Vinland Saga was early 2000s, like early. I'm gonna guess 2001.
Oh, 2005?
Oh, straight in there. Yes, correct.
I was about to say 2003, and I would have been wrong.
Does anybody
I
want
have
to...
no idea. I started in 2019.
Oh,
It
okay.
existed beforehand, apparently.
Before, it's like the Big Bang. Before that, it didn't exist. All right. Anybody want to guess the what is it? The month? Like, to get more specific on the date? I've got the whole date on the next
Oh, I
slide.
have no idea.
March 25.
March 25. Okay. Ketita, you want to guess?
Did you Google that?
No.
Who me?
No. No
there
Googling.
cheating?
No Googling.
No, I am not cheating.
No cheat.
Let's see. So if it's published in afternoon, and afternoon is always on the 25th.
Rookie mistake. It started in Weekly Magazine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Weekly Shonen magazine, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back to it existed before I was involved. January 1st.
January 1st, the best date. It's April
Yes.
13th, so you're bloody close there, bro. You did March 25th quick.
Hell yeah.
Weekly Shonen. All right. So question 2. Oh crap! I need to remember what this says so I can read out quickly before you answer it. Okay, let's go.
You should.
Aside from Vinland Saga, which other manga is Yukimura known for?
Planetes.
Oh boy,
I don't know how
you
to
guys.
pronounce it. Planetes, whatever.
I kept on saying planetets, but then I
Yes.
typed up and I'm like, that's not how it's written.
Let's look it up in what are the hiragana for it?
I just mentioned it, Planetes.
Oh
Great
yeah.
manga. They did a great anime, and it's just a good story. Read it if you haven't.
Planets is a great little series, but he also did a one-shot, which was collected.
Uranates.
Yeah, it was in the first 4 books of
Ah.
the English release about Okita Joji. I can't pronounce my Japanese today. Sorry. The Shinsengumi captain, and that's also quite good as well.
Yeah.
Was that in
Yeah, that was pretty
feudal
neat.
Japan? Was that the setting?
That was Boshin War, so like the mid to late 19th century.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll need to scan my volumes when I get them back. I don't have them with me currently. I mean, I'd be like, I need to reread, but I can't. But oh, that's interesting. Okay. But where's Bug Eyes? Okay, this is the funky thing that I sent over to you guys. Now, this is going to be a little...
Now do we look at it?
Not quite yet, but I'm going to explain it first.
Okay,
Where's...
I'm gonna unzip it though.
Yeah,
Oh,
unzip
sorry.
it. Unzip it. So, where's Bug Eyes is Where's Wally?
Where's Waldo, you
Yanks
fool?
like to call it Waldo, but this is
Yes.
we accept other cultures on this program, so I shall allow it.
I'm just saying the name Wally sounds like a child toucher. That's all I'm gonna say.
Or as Americans call it, where's Waldo? But instead of Waldo or Wally, we are looking for our generous patron, Bug Eyes. As he has traveled throughout time and across universes to appear into other manga universes. We have some questions on this. So here's an example. Hopefully I did this right. Where's Bug Eyes?
Ooh, bottom left.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Is he in D2? No, wait,
Oh,
no,
you're
no, no,
back.
no, he's in the corner, he's in the corner, he's in the corner, he's in D0.
Yes, he is. Yeah. The idea is that you okay, yeah, we're gonna keep it chaotic. So you look in so instead of saying the bottom left, you will have two pictures. So two pictures for each scene. So one looking like this, which is the raw quote unquote version, and then you have the grid version, and they have to say, "Oh, it's in D0." So and the first one to say it gets the point. So the first one is a Berserk one, and then there's an what is it? Pun Pun one. I don't know how to say the first part. I haven't actually read it. Shame on me. Anyway.
It's just good night.
So-
Good night,
Okay, I
Hong
haven't
Kong.
read it either yet.
Shame.
Shame. Look at it. Look. Okay, so I'm gonna say open up in 3, 2, 1 or whatever, and then you can open it up. Okay, open up in 3, 2, 1. First one is Berserk, and then
A4. A4.
oh, bingo.
Oh wow.
So yeah, see, this is tough, but
He
A4.
blends in surprisingly well.
Exactly.
I recently just finished Berserk. Just saying.
Oh, nice. Okay.
After the announcement came out, and I'm
Yes.
just saying, I am big sad. Anyway,
Yeah.
I have found Bug Eyes. He is an A4.
Yes, woohoo! Bug Eyes has infiltrated Elfhelm, and who knows what he's doing. But
He looks very concerned to be there.
So would I.
fair enough.
Yeah, like imagine you're stuck now in the world of Berserk. That's the worst nightmare.
That is the worst nightmare. Though Elfhelm does seem like a rather lovely place so far.
Like the best place
Yeah,
you can
sounds
be.
alright.
Yeah, literally the best place in Berserk you could be. But yeah, Berserk World, not the most forgiving place. Bug Eyes, our generous patron, he loves to see the world and travel and go find different markets that he can exploit. Purchase from and get great goods from. To show all of us, if you go to Blissful, if you go to bugeyes.com.
You forgot the acronym.
the acronym. There you go. All right, there he is. Oh, okay, I had it there. Question 4. Now, which one is this one? I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen next? Who is Hrafnkel? Who is or was Hrafnkel?
No clue.
No clue?
No clue.
Well, there's a pike there, so
Oh no, this image has nothing to do with it. This it's just a random dark.
oh wow, baited. I don't know.
Hang on.
You're not grabbing your books, right?
No.
No, I'm not grabbing them. They're in the other room.
Okay.
Look, I mean, it predates the chapters that I worked on.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a hint.
Oh, can
Yeah, I'm
can,
totally
can
lost.
you give
Okay.
a hint to what arc he was in?
It is in. Okay, so he is in early parts of the Eastern Expedition.
Oh,
So it's before both of
What?
you will.
Wasn't that like the farm owner? Or was that someone related to the guy in Iceland? Either way.
The guy-
It's
oh,
what I think it is.
Everything. Oh, so like someone related to. Yeah. So this picture is not related. It's just meant to be like
Yeah.
dark. Yeah. So this is actually from Garm's flashback, I think. Anyway, so you're gonna go with Halfdan's thing, right?
Yeah.
who you talking
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Is it
a cool car.
Ilfa's husband? No.
Hild's dad.
Yes, Hild's dad. That's
Oh,
great.
oh my god.
Oh,
Okay. maybe I am the only one that's brushed up on the Hill family tree, so maybe I thought that was a bit too easy. Underestimated.
See, this is the problem. On my rereads, I just zoom through Baltic War because I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, that's true. And he's not in it for long either. It's like his name's probably like appears twice or something like that, or like once.
I didn't even know he had a name. I thought he was just Hild's dad.
Hild's
No,
papa.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a tough
now
one.
I remember. It was a good one.
Okay.
It was a good one.
Okay. We got some more coming up. What's the next one? I don't know. Okay, how tall is Thorkel the Tall canonically?
Pretty tall.
Pretty tall. Aren't
8 feet. I don't know.
8 feet. Okay, I'm gonna go with the closest one. So each of one of you can.
7.
7.
7.5.
7.5.
Oh, God damn it! I was gonna say that. So I'll just say 7 3/4.
7 3/4.
I cannot remember if it was 8 feet or if it was like 7.5. 8 feet.
Oh.
Let's just go 8 feet.
Wow. Oh no. Well, okay, I didn't put an answer slide. It is 230 centimeters or 7.65 feet. So do the math on that. Who's closer? I think Torlock.
I
You're
think it's
closer.
Torlock, yeah.
Torlock is closer.
I would have said ketita, but I don't know actually. I'm not good at math.
So it's 0.65. So 10 away. So
Okay, let's transmit. How much is 7.5 in centimeters?
Sorry, it's 7'9", yeah.
Yeah, 7'9". So
Yeah.
I guess Ketita's closest.
okay.
Here we
Okay.
go, ketita.
Ketita. Okay, so the current points is Ketita is on 2, Rill is on 1, and Torlock is on 2. Okay, nice. So we got Where's Bug Eyes 2? Electric Boogaloo. Get ready to look at your next page. In 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, depends on this page.
Oh, B2. I immediately spotted him.
Is that him?
No
I
way.
immediately looked right at him.
Oh, I was like, this one's hard. No.
Nice.
Oh my god. But guys, where are you, my beloved?
Right
He kind
there.
of sticks out in the Poon Poon art style.
That is true.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
true.
the first-
He's the only one
first thing I
without
looked
black
at.
hair.
Guys, my beloved. I think I see him.
Yeah.
I thought I was being cheeky because I wasn't showing his face, but
But
you'd say an answer.
Okay, let me just go to the grid version.
I do want to give a lot of credit for the really nice manips going on here. Really nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, grid. Oh, it zoomed in. He is in B2. Is that correct?
Bingo. Nice.
Yeah, he's
good
like
stuff.
the hunched over one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know. I was just trying to find ones with loads of people in it. I find it surprisingly hard to find panels with loads of people in. But,
Yeah, I can imagine.
What's
Yeah.
with the lady in a really big head?
Who?
On that picture there from Poon Poon.
Marge Simpson.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that.
I don't see
oh no,
who.
it's that's just Poon Poon, right? The one
Oh, no,
isolated.
the
backpack.
With the,
Yeah, that's the main character.
that's the main
Pum
character.
Pum.
Oh.
I thought this one was gonna be really hard, and then the other guys, I think Real got it like immediately, and he was like, I just saw the blonde hair, and I was like, yeah, I should have thought about that. Don't go with blonde hair.
I think it's just the difference in art styles. But
Kind of is, yeah.
no, but Pun Pun is great. Read it. I mean,
Okay,
like,
okay,
obviously, large content warning. There is a lot of shit that's like very triggering. But if you're okay with all of that, look up online what the triggers are. It is amazing if you can stomach it.
Question 7. Ooh, we're heating up. There's only 10 questions, everybody. There is a tiebreaker. What name does the kind mother give to Thorfinn? This is another obscure one. Oh boy.
I'm gonna go with Ret. He's a rat. Little rat.
Rhett, okay.
Wasn't it like Edmund? No.
Thomas. Was it Thomas?
John. Johnny. John?
Johnny.
John is correct.
Oh!
It is
Wow,
John.
what the hell?
Bring out the law. There we go. Yeah. So his the youngest is John, though that's technically her son that died. I think, not Thorfinn. But anyway,
Yeah,
technicalities
that's
aside,
it's-
okay. I was trying to think of tough questions.
It was tough.
Damn.
Okay, question 8. According to Norse legend, who is Jormungandr?
It's a really good anime.
Isn't he just like a big fucking snake?
See,
Well,
he's
well,
the
is he-
world's-
is he more
the
than
world's
that?
snake. The one who's like living under all the oceans.
The world serpent.
Oh, beautiful. The best answer yet. Do you want to elaborate?
He fights Thor, and I'm pretty sure he's the one who ends up killing Thor in Ragnarok. It was Loki's fault because Loki gave birth to it because he is the mother of monsters in Norse myth, and then Thor fights it on multiple occasions. I'm a
Dang.
history nerd.
Okay. Well, that your Norse mythology has just outdone the rest of the group here. Yes. So he is the world snake, who Thor fights in Ragnarok, I think, and is somehow the child of Loki. But Loki gets around the place. He gave birth to an 8-legged horse or something like that. So Loki
Isn't
is
the wolf?
Yeah, he got around a lot.
Yeah.
both a mother and a father. We stand Loki. Actually, we probably shouldn't. Loki's not the best person. But
No.
do you guys all get that one? I'm not counting points at this point.
Oh, I definitely didn't. I just said big fucking snake.
Big snake.
Well, you said big snake. I said world snake.
Big
and
fucking snake.
You know what? I'm gonna give Big Snake just to heat it up. So we're coming in on the 9th question. All things equal, I think. Oh no, Real, you're ahead. You're 3. And
Oh,
the
hell
rest are
yeah.
2, because you got the Pun Pun one. Okay. Next one. How many
Wait,
husbands
but
had
I got
Gudrid
the
had?
John. I got John.
Oh yeah, you
Oh
got
yeah,
John.
true. True, we're tied.
It's tied. How many husbands had?
3.
There you go. It is
Had?
3.
Oh, I would have guessed 2. I don't know.
Well,
No, because she was married to Light.
That's right, yeah.
First
Oh
sister
yeah,
and
I
Sigurd
didn't
and
count
then
Thorfinn. Oh, okay.
didn't count the person she's
Hagen.
currently married
The
to.
only one that she actually consummated her marriage with.
Yeah, but like the question is had, and at this point in the story, she has.
Ooh.
That's a spoiler.
Oh.
I'm probably gonna be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was 3.
Ding ding ding. You are correct. It's
Yeah!
Thorstein, Sigurd, and Thorfinn. Touche. I'll give you that one. So yes, I never quite got this in my head, but you know, I was reading the Wikipedia at the wiki page, and I was like, okay, this works out somehow. All right, so we are heading into this round with a 4-3-2 split. So
Powerless.
I could do the cheesy thing and say double points, winner takes all, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
No.
Nah, don't.
But we are not going to do that. So question 10. I think it's the hardest one. It must be the hardest one. If you guys get this quickly, I will be very sad. Which 3 biblical books are directly quoted from in Vinland Saga? Hint, 2 are from the Tanakh or Old Testament, and 1 is from the New Testament. And here we have Snake reading his pretty Greek version.
You're right, that is hard.
Like one must certainly be Revelations from the New Testament.
See, and here I remember that there's a quote from what is it, Havamal. Like that's what I remember.
From what, sorry?
Havamal. It's one of the sagas about how man needs a friend, and it's at the start of the thing with Einar.
Oh boy. I hope there's like not like loads of other ones that I'm missing.
No, that's not. It's not. That's not from the Bible.
Okay.
It's I think it's an Icelandic poet.
Oh yes. Okay, yes.
That's the.
Okay, I'm locking in my answer. Book of Revelation.
So 1 is the Book of Revelation. Do you want to guess any other ones from the Old Testament?
No clue.
No clue?
Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy? Okay.
I don't know, it's just a guess.
I don't know, Genesis? no idea. We can list them all.
I don't know any of like the biblical book names. I'm not even gonna lie. I know they're quoted during Farmland. I do not know
Yes.
any of like the biblical book names.
It's not easy. There's like 30 in the Old Testament.
Okay. I'll give you one of the quotes. This one is a quote from the New Testament.
Well, the Tanakh and the Old Testament, are they the same thing? Does the Old Testament include all the things after the 5 books of Moses? I don't know anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from my quick research, Wikipedia, my best friend, told me that so in the New Testament you have 27 books, and in the Old Testament I think you have 39 books, and that should be the same for the Tanakh.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So that's the whole Tanakh.
Tanakh is just another term for.
Yeah, because I didn't want to say Torah, because that's the common misconception that the Torah, but that's the first.
Yes.
That's the
That's
Pentateuch.
that's the 5 books of Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna give you props for writing Tanakh. And not just Old Testament.
I knew you would be in this conversation, so I did a little extra research.
I feel seen.
Do you want any guesses? Final guesses?
Can you give us? No, I think you should give us
Okay.
some hints.
Okay.
Let's try to get serious.
So
with this.
the quote from the New Testament is when Snake is reading to Sverkel, and it's the love God and love thy neighbor. That's the quote that's used a lot. I know that's like one of the most generic biblical quotes ever, but the Old Testament ones I don't think you're gonna get.
Isn't one of them around the time with Canute having his whole?
Yes, one of them is
Thematic.
opening page with Willibald on the front, and it has a quote in the corner. And then another one's at the beginning of book 7. So if you want a cheeky quick look it up, it's there and it's about farming the ground and its futility, I think.
Farming and futility is going to be from. Is it from Proverbs? Or Proverbs or Ecclesiastes? Ecclesiastes.
Yes, Ecclesiastes is one of the books.
Mad respect.
Wow.
Okay, but this isn't because I know Vinland Saga. This is because I know Bible.
That's true. Ecclesiastes is like somewhat nihilistic, at least at the beginning.
It's not. It's actually not. Okay, you know what? I'm not giving you a speech. I'm not giving you a speech. About
Sorry,
Ecclesiastes.
nihilistic is not the wrong term, but
It's not nihilistic, but it does have to do with the general miseries of the human condition.
yes. Sorry. Isn't a term they use a lot? Vapor? Is that like life is like vapor,
Yeah.
or something like that?
Yeah, like meaning things are fleeting.
Yes.
But like the crux of it is that because things are fleeting, therefore you should do what God wants, because that is the only real meaning of life. So that's not actually nihilism.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I'm
I'm sorry, my PhD is leaking.
Oh no, I can't keep it in. And then the other one, should I reveal? Actually, I'm gonna say so. Sermon on the Mount is the New Testament. So if you can,
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
so one of the
about
Gospels.
Testament.
Just name them off.
Oh, would that be Mark?
Incorrect.
John.
Luke.
Incorrect.
Fuck.
Matthew?
Yes, correct.
Nice.
There we go. We got 1 point each. Should I just show you the last one?
Sure.
Can I pour out one guess? And if it's wrong, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Ezekiel?
Ezekiel, fair shout, but it's incorrect. It is Lamentations. So these are the 3 I found.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. It's interesting that it's got.
That's
It's all King James, I assume here. But
Yeah, that sounds like King James.
yeah, it looks like King James.
There are some big mistranslations in King James.
I'm not
just
an King James stan. I'm much more of an ESV type of guy, I must say. But you know, some folks do like their
Though
King
there
James.
are
So.
some really pretty parts in the King James translation.
Yeah, it's very flowery.
Read the Dutch translations.
Yeah, true. I just talk about English translations. It's just like for like.
So when's Project Vinland doing a translation of the Bible?
Oh, this is the big question.
Hell yeah.
So you're gonna translate into Japanese and then translate it back.
Yes.
Translate it from Hebrew into Japanese, or like Aramaic or Greek and Latin. I don't know, if it's in Latin initially. Anyway, side tangent, tiebreaker, because it's all tight here. I think Ketita's just won, but I want to ask this question because this was my favorite little fact I found. Our beloved patron, how old is he in the current arc?
Oh my god. 26.
Oh, the double 26, Ketita.
I don't know. 24.
24.
He's actually Jesus, so he is immortal.
Okay.
And he transcends space and time. But in this story, I'm gonna go with 32.
Oh my word, it's 33. That is insane.
Shit.
What? What?
I was like,
Why do you
I
think-
remember him being in his early 30s.
Okay, fair enough. You are a true Bug Eyes. Bug Eyes.
Yeah, we love Bug Eyes.
Yeah, we love Bug Eyes
Simp.
here. Okay, that was incredible. The correct answer is 32. How is this
Okay.
boy 32?
What?
I don't understand, but
Wow.
How is he so dumb?
this lad is 32. I couldn't believe it. All right, back to the actual educational part. I got a few more questions. Just to kind of get a little bit of an opinion in there, which parts of the process do you think people lack appreciation? Maybe that's a bit crass of saying it, just lack most knowledge of, or would you like to educate specifically on, kind of highlight further?
I mean,
Knowledge there.
when people think of Scanlation, I think most of the time they're gonna think of literally like the scanners and suppliers, but also the translators. I think the one that gets overlooked the most is probably either typesetting or quality checking, because those two things can make or break Scanlation. Like, if they are cleaned incorrectly and it looks bad, or if the font is just a bad font, or if it's not in the speech bubbles correctly, it could just ruin the entire thing. And I think those ones are really overlooked rules.
Well, I would personally say quality checking.
Aww.
I actually would agree.
Actually, now that I think about it, you're probably right, because when people think about Project Vinland and other translation groups, the main thing that comes to mind is translation and, typesetting and things like that. And, the sad reality about being a quality checker is that, you've done a good job when no one says you've done a good job, because there'll be nothing there. It's perceived as like a lower part of the process, and also there's nothing to observe about it, and like I said, you've done a good job when there's nobody talking about it.
So and do you think it also could be that because it's a less specialized field for like quality checking in general, that may be less appreciated because it's more of a generalist role, I'd assume. Maybe I'm incorrect in that.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of people might assume it's easy to like not make mistakes, but it's actually, everyone makes mistakes, and small little errors will always go through and make their way in. And like I said earlier, even I don't get everything a lot of the time. Like, I'll have to have an extra set of eyes like ketita to look over it as well, because it's so easy to miss things.
I also I wanna give a shout out to the redrawers, because I think that's also, it's so invisible, but once you see what translated manga looks like, where somebody is doing the redrawing and really cleaning it up nicely, and it just looks so polished, it makes such a huge difference. I mean, I remember when I was young and reading scanlated manga was basically, like, if it was actually scanlated, it was just like text done in Microsoft Paint slapped on top of squiggles. I mean, I read Yu-Gi-Oh! In the worst translations imaginable. And I think that, nowadays you look at translations and it looks so good. All these fan projects that people are putting so much effort into and really making it look so polished. And I think that definitely I give a lot of credit to the redrawers also, who, do a lot of the work behind the scenes. And, the whole point is that nobody can see that you did anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's almost like CGI. You only notice when it's bad, when it's good,
Exactly.
you don't notice it.
Yeah, I'd also like to shout out like the cleaners as well, because if you've looked at a raw Japanese manga chapter, there's a lot of nonsense on there.
Oh yeah, so many ads and stuff.
So much, and that probably takes a while. Well, maybe not too long, but a lot there to deal with. Like I said earlier, there's not just speech bubble text, there's also like advertisements and other miscellaneous things in the margins.
I mean, just from my perspective as just a reader, lots of the time it's hard enough to even remember that someone's actually translated it, let alone actually be like, oh yeah, there's more than just the translation, because it looks so professional. It honestly looks fantastic. It looks so good.
Well, thank you.
There's few times where I'm just like, oh, okay, that I'm reminded that someone else had to like do this work and translate it from it. Like, I'm not reminded. I'm just like, oh yeah, Yukimura's just writing this in English and he's publishing it to us. Like, what a nice dude. Like, that's sometimes how like if I don't like check myself, like that's how I can think. So in a way, you guys doing a good job makes me not appreciate you guys as much, which is a bit of a sad thing to think about. But that's the point of this interview, I guess.
Oh, let me tell you what the worst part of translating every chapter is. At the end of the chapter, there's like a line on the right side of the page going down that's like, oh, this next chapter is going to be whatever. And it's like a sort of mini summary and what's going to be and whatnot. And it's always written in this like horrible fragment sentence with a bunch of weird clauses. And you look at this and you're like, how do I make this look like reasonable English?
It's like the next time on Dragon Ball Z kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh.
You know what the worst part is? It's that Yukimura doesn't even write it. It's the editor that writes those tags.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And so sometimes they get it wrong, so when we get hyped out, oh, we're sailing to Vinland next chapter.
Yeah, exactly. They get it wrong so often.
Nope. They're gonna be in a boat for at least 3 chapters, everybody.
But yeah, so those, like, I will keyboard smash at Rill about those.
Yeah, they're a pain.
Next, what is your favorite part of working on Project Vinland?
I'm gonna have to say, seeing everyone's replies when we post the chapter and being like, oh, it's so good, or like, just seeing everyone get so excited for the new chapters and then talking about them once they're out. Just seeing other people happy makes me happy, honestly.
The banter's quite good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I guess getting a sneak peek of what the chapter will be before everyone else is kind of a good feeling, because it's like, haha, we get to see it before you, plebs.
That's a great feeling to have. Okay, because I sometimes wonder, I constantly think in the back of my head, man, I don't read Vinland Saga. Don't read Vinland Saga monthly, Jarky, just don't do it, because you're going to get to the end of those 20 pages and like the story would have moved along, but only marginally so. You should let them build up. Maybe just read a whole book at once. But like, I can never stop myself. I keep on coming back for that good old sweet Vinland Saga. But you guys have it even worse, because you have to read it kind of and also work on it at the same time. So you kind of like almost do you get burnt out on the chapter before it's even out, or?
Oh no, I don't at least.
I haven't read a few chapters because I just put it aside for a bit and want to let them build up for a bit. I know I haven't actually looked at a chapter, like quality checked it in a little while, but that probably will change soon. I kind of want to go back to it now. Actually, I do have one more thing about working at Project Vinland. Is obviously Vinland isn't the only series that the server does, and I was put on check for a couple of other series, and looking at these other series has also been quite fun and enjoyable. Like, in particular, there was one called Fuko by Parasite guy, I can't pronounce his name, sorry, Iwaki.
Yeah, Hitoshi Iwaki.
Yeah, like a slice of life series by him, and it was quite enjoyable. So a big part of it, working at Project Vinland as well, is all these other series, all the other people in the server are doing. Like, there's another one as well going on at the moment, Cesare. I'm not involved in that one, but that is quite interesting as well.
Okay, I don't even quite process this. Like, think of it in this way. So, is there quite a big community of Scanlation people that work on many different things at once?
Well, Project Vinland does several other manga aside from Vinland Saga.
I see. That's cool. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, and it's also like usually, I don't want to say we we poach people, but like the very niche manga series are usually being worked on by like 1 or 2 people. So when I see that people are working on it, on like something I like, which is very niche, I always invite them like to join our group, so we expand and have more people, more eyes,
and so you can
just
conquer
more
the
knowledge.
Scanlation world.
Exactly.
Yes.
And just grow bigger.
And if you're listening to this and you want to join Rill's empire, feel free to message him, and he will happily take you as an underling. Just like Torlock here.
He's a minion, though.
Oh, minion, sorry.
Underling.
Technicalities. I'm sorry.
I really look forward to the chapter each month. I think that for me, scanlating actually helps me keep up some of the hype. You know, I get all excited about what we're gonna see, and it does make me a bit more invested, because translating is a very creative thing. Also, you know, thinking about how you're gonna phrase, how you're gonna express ideas. So that does get me kind of a little more emotionally involved than I might be otherwise. If I was just, you know, waiting for a new chapter, I read the new chapter, and then I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I liked it, I didn't like it. But this gives me more, you know, I spend a lot more time thinking about it. But one of the other things that I also definitely plan to do, and that kind of keeps me going, is since I first read Vinland Saga in, you know, the binge of the universe, from like volume 1 all the way to 11 in one go.
I like that term.
And it was so good. It was so good. And now when I'm reading it, I'm thinking to myself, you know, Vinland Saga just isn't as good month by month. I mean, it's a great series, but it's very, very serial. And I look at people who were following through Farmland, and if you look at some of the comments from earlier, like, you see similar frustrations to what people have now. But now everybody's like, Farmland is the best, it's the best thing ever, peak manga. So I say, you know what, I'm like holding off, and I'm really looking forward to when volume 12 releases and reading it, you know, in one go. Maybe I'll just reread the entire section from the start and include volume 12. So
I don't know about you, but those chapters where they were in Iceland before they set sail, waiting for those monthly was kind of painful, because like you know, not much progression in story going on. It was mainly just like everyday slice of life things for quite a while.
And some Halfdan bullshit.
Yeah, oh yeah, Halfdan. But I imagine like people picking that up in book 12 or whenever the hell that comes out for the first time, read through it, it's probably a lot more pleasant, because it's just like a quick, brisk walk through their lives. You don't have to wait month for months. And I do sort of agree with this idea that it's better read like put by the book rather than by the month, because actually that's something I have feelings about for most manga, not just Vinland. It's always better to read it by the book.
I don't know about that, but I've been reading so many mangas for like at least a decade, like weekly and monthly. It's just all I know, so.
I don't know. I think I actually found that, for example, I fairly recently binged all of Jujutsu Kaisen, and that was a very different experience. Like, that actually kind of exhausted me after a while. I think some of it is that Yukimura's drawing style is so clear. His panel layout is really, really nice. So, you know, it's almost effortless to read.
Oh yeah, Jujutsu's art is kind of scuffed, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not, like, some people say that art is bad. It's not bad art at all, but it's much rougher. It has a much more sketchy kind of feel. So there, you know, I actually like Jujutsu Kaisen better with some breaks between parts to kind of give a breather, but Vinland Saga I think works very well as a single story with much longer parts between breaks.
Good point, yeah.
That's interesting. I'd actually say something maybe similar about my experience with Berserk, because as soon as I caught up to it, when it came out monthly, I was like, oh, I can just like bathe in the art because it's so detailed. I almost feel guilty because like just blasting through the page by page, because I'm just like, oh, I'm so engrossed in the story. It's kind of like walking through an art gallery really quickly and not, you know, listening to, I don't know, like reading all the little captions they have on and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just read Berserk the first time just way too fast. But it's also makes you appreciate rereads way more.
Final question to my interviewees. Where do you think Vinland Saga is headed, and what do you think is in store for us in this final arc?
Well, this is my pet theory. I hate it. But I'm preparing myself for it because I believe that it's gonna happen, and I'd rather prepare myself and then have it not happen, and I'll be like, oh, I'm so happy it didn't happen because it would have sucked. But I think that it is gonna happen. I think that Einar is gonna die. I think that he is going to be killed, and Thorfinn is going to be very sad and traumatized over it. and it's going to be involved with the whole conflict with the make-back that's coming. And this makes me sad because I love Einar. He is the best bro.
Do you think Thorfinn is going to get angry again, or is he going to be just sad?
I mean, I would like for him to get angry. I think that, I think it really depends on how Yukimura plans to end. I mean, I see it as being a kind of bittersweet ending, but Einar dying and Thorfinn having to control himself after that would definitely be a very big challenge to Thorfinn's pacifist ideals. So, I think that it would be interesting. I don't want to.
I would assume it will be them leaving Vinland, and it will perhaps be more so of it was the journey and the friends we made along the way type of ending, more so than it's Vinland. You know what I mean? It could go either way, or Yukimura can surprise us and just go in an entirely different direction.
What I do want him to have is I want him to have a native girlfriend.
Oh, spicy. I'm up for that. I'm up for a bit. I mean,
It would be so cute.
As much as I know, like, people just want to kind of blast through it because, you know, as we previously said, you know, monthly. I'm fine if Yukimura does a bit more, not like slice of life, just kind of like pushes into the characters a little bit more, because we do have quite a few characters I would like a little bit more cooking, shall we say?
Like Hild.
Hild is one. I want some more Cordelia. I want more Carly. I want everybody. I want some more character interactions. I'm a sucker for those. Give me some of that Yukimura.
I'm not a big shipper. Besides, I'm a big Thornute shipper. I want to see Canute again. I love him so much. I want to see Canute, please. But I'm a big fan of the pain and the angst, so I would like to see a very tragic end or a lot of main character death, because that is what I'm into. But a lot of people would disagree.
A bit of suffering. I feel like a bit of suffering is never enjoyed in
as
the
a
moment,
treat.
But like in retrospect, you're always like, oh, it's so good, but I'm crying so much.
I always used to joke that I wanted Hill to invent a ballista. Like a giant ballista.
That would be very cool, actually.
It's just a bigger crossbow, everybody, on wheels. We can just wheel out.
That would be really good. No, but with what Ketita was saying earlier, I don't necessarily think it's going to be Einar, but I do have a feeling someone will die. Not sure who though, but Einar is probably a good candidate for death. Sorry, Einar.
You've been chosen.
Yeah, she's been chosen for death. I think he'd be a good candidate, but obviously Yukimura might want to surprise us and choose someone we weren't expecting, but I can't comment on that. And obviously, I'm still not sure if this is going to follow history itself or if it's going to go in its own direction. Obviously, I haven't read it in a little while, but from what I could tell, I was like sort of split 50-50 on whether it would follow history or not.
The eternal debate that you'll see talked about everywhere. People are like, is it going to be happy ending? Is it going to be not happy ending?
By the way, how would Hild invent the ballista? The Greeks invented it.
Oh,
No, they didn't.
Reinvent it.
It was Hild.
It was Hild. Hild has rewritten history.
Okay, how about she invents the Glock?
Just find some, like, what is it, gun nitrate. It's a nitric oxide or whatever. It's possible. Dr. Stone it, basically. Yeah, I see it.
As for, like, the ending, on the surface level, I'd say, you know, this has a good chance of being, like, a happier ending, but when you dig into it more, like, start to examine it, and you look at the previous track record of how events have ended in Vinland Saga, there was a lot of potential here for things to go horribly wrong for Thorfinn and co, so that'll be interesting to see, I think, because, you know, on the one hand, sad endings are always a downer, but on the other hand, it might be more interesting, but it's how it's executed, really. That's the important part.
Yeah. I guess people kind of maybe have forgotten that, like, the first arc ended with a lot of loss, and then the second arc also ended with loss, and then the third arc kind of didn't end with as much loss, I don't think.
No, it ended more like...
victoriously.
Yeah, by the skin of their teeth victorious. In a
Yes.
way.
So I think that kind of gives people the impression it's like, oh, Vinland Saga is comedic now, it's not as serious, and all that. And so people are like, it's going to have a happy ending. Also, like, thematically, I guess people were thinking, it's very pro-pacifism, so Thorfinn's pacifism can't be shown to be incorrect, right? Right? That seems where the themes are going.
Okay, but like that also, it would also be kind of weird to go that direction because, I mean, of course, then he's gonna jump ahead to his alternative universe where instead of Canada, you have a pacifist Mi'kmaq Viking nation. I mean, okay.
Thorfinnland.
I guess.
I mean, that would be interesting to see, to be honest. Like, but at that point, does it become alternative history? You know, that's just something I've always thought to myself. Like, if it doesn't follow history, does it become alternative history?
Undoubtedly, many people have many things to say about it, and many people will be very angry.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I'm concerned about. No matter how it ends, people are going to be upset. Like, there's no way like this could end.
Yeah.
And make everyone happy.
People are still recovering out of the fallout of Attack on Titan, and that will be a shadow that looms over for sure. Though we still got like another, I think according to my prediction, it was going to be January 2024 when it ends, if it ends on chapter 114 or whatever. 214,
sorry. That's right. Yeah, he gave a page count, didn't he?
Yeah. Some people think it's going to be less, some people think it's going to be more. I think you're one of the few people, correct me if I'm wrong, that I think it's going to be less than 1,000 pages.
Yeah, I have a very unpopular opinion that we're gonna see the end fairly soon. I think
Oh, interesting.
like 10, not 10, but like at least like a year and a half maybe.
So do you think we're going to hit the
Just-
200 chapter mark?
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna hit the 200 chapter mark. I think we're gonna end it at or around 200. But just because we've been going so fast and skipping so many things, like the whole Miklagard arc, we just skipped. We sailed to Vinland in 1 chapter, and now we're already met the natives in like 3 chapters, something like that. So there's been, of course, a lot of build-up in the Baltic Sea War arc, and that's all of that has been build up for this arc. So it makes sense that we're going this fast, but like for my gut feeling, we're going a little too fast to like follow his predictions. Like, I like the space, I don't mind the space, I don't mind it ending soon. I think he just overestimated it a little bit.
Okay.
That's usually that's quite rare because usually people underestimate how long their series might go on for.
Yeah.
I think that it really is going to depend to some extent on how many side characters get mini stories. Because one of the things that's really interesting about Vinland Saga, and I think is also one of the really strong parts of Vinland Saga, is that in many parts you get these like secondary characters who have little mini storylines that kind of weave into the main storyline. Like if you think about Farmland, right? You had Canute and all of the things that he was doing, but you also had Olmar and his entire shtick that was going on, and Thorgil and kind of what he was doing. So, and Arnheid and her stuff. So I think that right now, all we're seeing is a very, very heavily Thorfinn-focused story. And I am hoping that he will branch out into showing us, once again, there are several characters that could still use a little more fleshing out. I mean, Hild, I think, could really use a storyline. Avar seems like potential for, having a storyline happening around
Tattoo
him,
gang, where you
along
at?
with some of the native characters. And I think, and like I said, I would like to have, for Einar to have some kind of storyline
Einar
going
needs
on
something.
there. And if Gudrid has a baby...
Give him something.
So, yeah, so the thing is, if these things start happening, now right now we're not seeing that yet, but if they start happening, I think that's where your page count is going to come up, because you could have entire chapters where Thorfinn is not really doing anything, or not really
That's a good
present.
point,
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
There's loads of room to explore the characters even at this point. I'm assuming no fight has actually broken out yet. Like in the most recent chapter, right?
No.
Okay. So they haven't escalated or anything. So like there's this situation where they could easily do things like set aside a character for their own like individual mini storyline, and it'd be fine. Vinland has always, since the farm arc, Vinland has always focused on like these little slice of life moments in a lot of ways, so it wouldn't be too off kilter or anything like that. But obviously,
even before the farm arc, look at the prologue with the slave girl that Thorfinn talks to, and the what's her name, the girl with the ring that has that
yeah,
thing
now
you
you
mention it, yeah, you're right. I guess because that sort of stuff was just sort of overshadowed by the war going on in a way. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's always sort of had that focus on like minor characters in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't mind some more exploration of these characters in this like section of the story. A lot of people might not be fans of that, but I think it would be a great benefit to see like just everyday life in the colony.
I guarantee you that people will not be fans of it while it's still being written, but after it's written,
yeah.
people will love it. And I mean, I think I very much agree with Ketita here, where it's like, I think Farmland, what makes it work very well for at least myself is that it feels like it has so many threads that are kind of interweaving and then coming out and weaving back in again. Well, almost the Baltic Sea War, it seems very focused on Thorfinn in particular. And that's for thematic reasons, of course. And so it does weave in out of Thorfinn's perspective a little bit, but it seems a bit more focused on him. And I guess with the most recent chapter, there may be evidence to suggest that we may be getting more alternate threads as we have been introduced to the indigenous people and got a whole little scene of just their perspective. So I imagine we will be taking our eyes out of Thorfinn's viewpoint and at least the main cast point at some point, and so maybe that gives a bit of a bit of evidence to suggest that we may be going for a bit more of a more viewpoint story. I don't know how to end that tangent I went on, but
I want a whole chapter focused on Garm called Vinland Saga.
I don't think he's ever gonna come back.
Is he like setting up his new roller coaster theme park, and he's like, but he's got like different like levers and stuff that he can pull to kind of switch you over to a completely different ride halfway through, and like he like undoes all your seatbelts at once and all that stuff. Classic Garm.
That sounds very
Sounds like
unplanned.
him, yeah.
Yeah, Vinland Saga.
I just want to say, regarding the whole slice of life business, I just remember when I was reading Farmland, the first time. Do you know how invested I was in Einar and Thorfinn getting a horse?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
I was
that was
so
a great
invested in whether they would get that goddamn horse. Now, the point is, Yukimura knows how to write this stuff, and I fully agree that it could be that reading it now, it might be a little bit like, oh, so there's an entire chapter about, I don't know, a native girl who wants corn or something. And you'll read it to be like, oh, well, this was pointless. But then when you read it all together, you're like, no, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people like, oh, this, what is it, 182? Or when it's just, like, our guys is picking his nose and they're, like, at the campfire, and then Thorfinn and Ivar have a conversation, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, this felt like nothing happened. It's just one big conversation. Can we get some more, more spice here, Yukimura? But like, in the long run, you have to keep that scope. You have to keep on reminding yourself that, hey, when we come back to this, you're gonna be like trying to be like, this is some interesting detail. Oh, I like this now. Mind you, people were pretty hyped over just seeing his back of his head. So it was like,
Oh yeah, Canute pockets.
they're like, oh, we can see his crown, both of them. All right, do you guys have anything else to say?
Buy the manga.
Buy the manga. Thank you. Yes. Please buy the visual mangas at Kondasha. Kondasha, is that how you say it?
Kodansha.
Kodansha. Okay. I shall link it in the description. Please support the official releases.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if you've all heard this, but the anime's getting a DVD Blu-ray release
Yes.
by Sentai Filmworks.
Dub.
So, I'm just signaling that for you if you're interested in owning the series. It's getting a dub as well.
Yes. Dub. I'm prepared for American Escalade to come across. Yes.
They need to dubbing them with American accents is an absolute travesty and
Oh,
mistake.
I hope
No,
they
it's
use
not.
Give Thorkel like a Southern American Texan accent. It'll be amazing. I love it.
Oh,
I love it.
no, a Florida man.
Yeah.
Yes, that would fit it more.
Listen, no, this is not okay. There are enough characters in this series to give a speaking role to the entire population of Iceland.
That is true. That's true.
Oh.
Thorfinn is gonna be in
Yeah,
there.
he's gonna be like a gangster from or from Baltimore or something, going whipping it. Yeah. But if Askeladd has like a really, really stereotypical Welsh accent, that will be so funny. If they did that, that would be jarring
That
to say the
would be
least.
great.
But it'll,
I'd love that.
I'd love it so
that.
much.
Yeah.
I'd love to get my Welsh accent.
Yeah.
I kind of got excited when Wales popped up in the series because obviously I'm from Wales, so it was nice to see, my home country in a goddamn manga of all things. It was so unexpected, but I kind of like a big smile went on my face when I went to Wales for the first time.
Imagine if the parts where they're speaking Welsh, imagine if they actually dub it in Welsh.
Oh, you know what? That would be great.
That would be
so cool.
That'd be so cool.
That would be so good. That is a really lofty expectation.
And
so I don't expect them to do
Yeah.
that.
I
but
don't
if they
expect
do
it either, but it would be cool.
And
If they do that, though, I'd be really impressed.
and then they still call it like, what is it, shogi or like whatever when Askeladd.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
let's play these pieces like shogi. Yeah. I mean, I think this is one thing that I got into Vinland Saga a lot is just how Yukimura drew the scenery, because I've been to going like even going walking in the Lake District or in on Snowdon or somewhere like that, which are places in the UK, some of the countryside. Like I could feel it. I was like, oh, this actually looks like the like the geography that they would actually be walking on, and it's weird for me as someone from the UK that you see cultural appropriation for your own thing, where it's
he really nailed.
Appreciation,
Wales in particular.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for coming on and letting me interrogate you for over, like an hour and 3/4 at this point. So thank you so much, and hopefully all of you guys out there listening or watching this got something out of this and found it interesting. And I guess feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't upload often, but when I do, I upload a video. So yes, there you go. Thank you. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. England's pretty cool. UK is pretty cool. Shouldn't say England too much.
I can't.
But
I'm not saying that when you literally have Stargazy pie.
Stargazing.
I can never forgive that.
What is that? You're gonna
Do you know what that is?
teach me on my own
Have
culture.
you never seen that?
No.
It's from Cornwall. Look it up. Look it up. It's
Stargazy
horrible.
pie.
I hate it.
Well, okay, Cornish pasties. If you don't like those, I may have. I mean, we've already ended this interview once, but I had to end it again. Have stargazing
No, they're good.
pie.
No, they're good. It's
Okay.
just.
Gazy. I can't even spell pies. Okay, let me. Oh dang! It does look like a monstrosity.
It's horrible. It is.
Okay, we
I
do have
can't
some wacky
forgive
stuff.
that. I can forgive other
Okay.
things, but that is unforgivable.
Okay, this is incredible.
Oh, true. It's a bit ugly.
Have any of you ever heard of Stargazer's pie?
No. Stargazer's pie. Is this like a type
Apparently,
of
it's a
pie?
British food. Look at this monstrosity. Look at that.
That's not a thing.
It's called Stargazer's pie.
That is so ugly. Why is that called Stargazer? Because they're looking out.
Yeah, George. Having a bit of a stargazing session.
I would say this is offensive to my culture, but it's not like there was much culture to begin with.
Just